is extremely important. I want everybody to bruise this a little to release the essential oils and give yourself a good strong whiff. Let's start at one end and pass it all the way around. Get a nice, like, sharp inhale. Give yourself a strong whiff. Rosemary. Rosmarinus officinale.
You also, like, didn't they use it to clean your teeth?
You can use it as a stick, as a tooth cleaning stick, obviously as a seasoning. Okay, now, really good strong inhale. Everybody, give it a good whiff. Okay, so it's also been used as a preservative. Now, most aromatic essential oils are antimicrobial, which means if I go to Italy and I buy some meat from the butcher, often there would be rosemary leaves or sometimes bay leaves underneath the meat wrapped up. That's not a seasoning suggestion. They're not telling you to go home and cook with that. That was actually to help preserve the meat till you get it home. Right, it's supposed to actually, okay, everybody got a whiff?
And you make ratatouille with it.
And you can make ratatouille. You can make a lot of things with it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, a couple more things. Shakespeare famously said that's rosemary for remembrance. And he was actually onto something there because it is a short-term memory stimulant. And this has been proven and tested. If you put rosemary oil in a little aromatherapy diffuser and have somebody cram study for a test, they will do better on it the next day than if they had not had the rosemary going. Okay, so everybody just got a whiff.
Same day or the day before?
The day before. It's good for a little while. So now you're going to remember everything I tell you today.
Exactly.
Right? We got this, and then you can go take really good notes for when the rosemary wears off. Okay. Another interesting thing about rosemary, it's a nice example of the difference between safe and potentially poisonous being a question of quantity with a lot of plants. So it's not always just, is this plant poisonous or is this plant safe to eat? It's how much and what part of the plant. All right, so some plants, there aren't any elderberries on this walk, but there are in Israel, so it's a nice example. The flower is edible, the fruit's edible, every other part of the elderberry shrub is poisonous. So in that case, it's know which part of the plant. For people, an easier example, tomatoes. Tomato foliage is mildly toxic. You probably won't die, but you'll get a really bad tummy ache. Okay. Tomatoes are obviously edible. So that's another example of that. With something like rosemary, it's a question of quantity. So rosemary could actually give you a heart attack. The average amount, if you were to just sit down and eat a half a cup of straight rosemary leaves, because it's a strong cardiovascular stimulant, it's a good chance you would have a heart attack. All right. The taste, though, is so strong that who in their right mind is going to sit down and chew up a half a cup of rosemary leaves, right? You're just not going to do it. It would not be pleasant. So there, you put a little on your potatoes or your ratatouille. Okay. So this is an important thing to know. It has to do with therapeutic index, which you can think of as it's a distance is just a nice metaphor for it, but you can think of it like the distance between the amount of something that it takes to be effective and the amount that would kill you. All right, so some plants like dandelion, which is used as both food and medicine, the amount of dandelion root that you need for it to be effective might be 1 or 2 teaspoons boiled in a cup of water. The amount you could eat and still be safe could be 1 or 2 pounds, and it's not going to hurt you. That's a very broad therapeutic index. If you have another plant where the amount that it takes for the result you want, whether that's flavoring or medicine, is like a teaspoon, we'll stick with that example, all right, and the amount that could make you very sick is 1.5 teaspoons, that's a very narrow therapeutic index. All right? So I would give rosemary a medium. We're giving it a medium on the therapeutic index.